On October 28, 2008, right in the middle of the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression, something happened on the German stock market that made no sense. Volkswagen's share price went from 200 euros to over 1,000 euros in less than 48 hours. For one surreal afternoon, Volkswagen became the most valuable company on the entire planet. More valuable than ExxonMobil, more valuable than Apple, a car company that had been struggling for years, suddenly worth over 300 billion euros. Hedge funds lost $30 billion in days. Some went bankrupt overnight. And behind it all was a small sports car company from Stuttgart with 12,000 employees and a plan so audacious, so secretive, so perfectly engineered that it nearly worked. This is the story of how Porsche tried to buy Volkswagen, a company 10 times its size, and how the whole thing collapsed in the most spectacular way possible. To understand this story, you need to go back to the very beginning, because Porsche and Volkswagen were never just business partners. They were family. Ferdinand Porsche, the man who founded Porsche, also designed the original Volkswagen Beetle in the 1930s. The idea was simple: build a car for the German people. Volkswagen literally means people's car. So from day one, the two companies shared the same bloodline. Ferdinand had two children. His son Ferry built Porsche into the sports car company we know today. His daughter Louise married a man named Anton Peach, and their son would become one of the most powerful and most feared executives in automotive history, Ferdinand Peach. The Porsche and Peach families both owned shares in both companies. They sat on each other's boards. They shared platforms, shared parts, and shared shareholders' meetings. But they did not always share the same vision. Peach had risen through the ranks at Volkswagen to become its chairman. Colleagues described him as cold, brilliant, and someone who never forgot a slight. He had been pushed out of Porsche's supervisory board back in 1972 after internal power struggles, and he had never forgotten it. He was the kind of man who waited and watched and planned. By 2005, the man sitting across from Peach was Wendelin Wiedeking, Porsche's CEO. And Wiedeking was about to make the biggest gamble in automotive history. When Wiedeking took over as CEO in 1993, Porsche was in free fall. Sales had collapsed by 75% in 7 years. The company was losing $150 million a year. Analysts were writing Porsche's obituary. Wiedeking did something almost no automotive CEO had done before. He called in a team of Japanese manufacturing consultants, former Toyota experts, to rebuild Porsche from scratch. Their verdict was brutal. The lead consultant, Yoshiki Iwata, walked the factory floor and reportedly asked where the car factory was, saying it looked like a mover's warehouse. Wiedeking tore the place apart. He cut inventory, cut defects, cut waste, and rebuilt the entire production process from the ground up. Within a decade, Porsche had become the most profitable car company per vehicle on the planet. By the mid-2000s, Porsche was printing money, and Wiedeking wanted more. Here is where it gets interesting. When Wiedeking negotiated his contract back in 1993, when Porsche was bleeding out, he inserted a bonus clause that seemed almost laughable at the time. He would receive 1% of the company's annual pre-tax profits. Nobody worried about it then. Porsche was losing money. What was 1% of losses worth? But by 2008, that 1% paid Wiedeking 80 million euros in a single year. He was the highest paid executive in all of Germany, and he had a plan that matched his ambition. In June 2005, according to a recording later obtained by intelligence firm Black Cube, Wiedeking sat down with his chief financial officer, Holger Harder, and made a decision. They were going to buy Volkswagen, not merge with it, not partner with it, buy it. Even though Volkswagen produced 50 times more cars than Porsche, owned Audi, Lamborghini, Bentley, and Seat, and employed 300,000 people. The strategy was elegant. European securities law at the time had a loophole. A company could secretly accumulate options on another company's shares, the right to buy those shares at a fixed price in the future without publicly disclosing the full position, as long as Porsche was technically buying options, not shares. They did not have to tell anyone what they were doing. So quietly, invisibly, Porsche began buying options on Volkswagen shares. Month by month, their hidden stake grew, and publicly, Porsche played it perfectly. In March 2008, as rumors swirled, Porsche issued an official statement saying that speculation about going to 75% overlooks the realities of the shareholder structure. They were already planning to go to 75%. That statement was the trap, and every hedge fund in Europe walked straight into it. By late 2008, those hedge funds had decided Volkswagen was the perfect short sell. The company was debt-laden, bureaucratic, and facing a global recession. So they borrowed Volkswagen shares, sold them immediately, and waited for the price to fall so they could buy them back cheaper and pocket the difference. Then, on Sunday, October 26th, Porsche issued a press release. They now controlled 74.1% of Volkswagen's voting stock through a combination of direct shares and options. The markets opened Monday morning. The math was devastating. Porsche controlled 74%. The German state of Lower Saxony owned another 20%. Index funds held another 5%. That left approximately 1% of Volkswagen shares freely available on the open market. But 12% of shares had been shorted. 12% needed, 1% available. Panic. Every hedge fund scrambled to buy back shares that essentially did not exist. The price exploded from 210 euros on Friday to over 1,000 euros by Tuesday. For one afternoon, Volkswagen was worth more than every other company on earth. One analyst called it the mother of all short squeezes. Porsche made $11.5 billion from the maneuver in a single year. That was 8 times more from financial engineering than from actually selling cars. The BBC described them as a hedge fund with a car maker attached. Wiedeking was on the cover of Fortune magazine, and then everything fell apart. The same squeeze that destroyed the hedge funds had accidentally wounded Porsche too. When Volkswagen's share price exploded to 1,000 euros, Porsche's own option liabilities exploded with it. Banks that had been happily lending money for years suddenly demanded repayment. By early 2009, Porsche was carrying 13 billion euros in debt. Interest payments alone ran at 790 million euros per year. Porsche went to the German government asking for a 1.75 billion euros emergency loan. The government said no. Then Ferdinand Porsche made his move. Remember, Porsche was simultaneously the chairman of Volkswagen and a major shareholder in Porsche. He had watched the entire operation from the inside. He had been waiting for exactly this moment. In May 2009, he publicly said Volkswagen could simply buy Porsche. He told reporters that one of the possible solutions is for Volkswagen to buy Porsche, and that their favorite option is what is fast and painless. 2 months later, Wiedeking resigned. His severance package was 50 million euros. After the 80 million euros bonus year, the audacious plan, and the short squeeze that shook the world, he was out. By 2012, Volkswagen had purchased Porsche outright for 11.3 billion euros. The predator had become the prey. Ferdinand Porsche, grandson of the man who founded Porsche, the man pushed out of the company in 1972, now effectively controlled both companies. He had simply waited, watched Wiedeking overreach, and stepped in with a check. But here's what most people miss about this story. Losing this battle may have been the best thing that ever happened to Porsche. Under Volkswagen ownership, Porsche gained access to platforms, research and development budgets, and electric vehicle technology it could never have afforded alone. The Taycan, Porsche's first fully electric car, was built on infrastructure that Porsche, on its own, simply could not have developed. And in September 2022, Volkswagen took Porsche public on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. The IPO valued Porsche at 75 billion euros, Europe's largest public offering in over a decade. The Porsche and Porsche families retained majority voting control through their holding company. They had lost the takeover. They had been absorbed by Volkswagen. But through the IPO, they locked in generational wealth that Wiedeking's gamble, even if it had succeeded, could never have guaranteed. Sometimes losing the battle is exactly how you win the war. This is just one chapter of the Porsche story. Next video will cover how Porsche nearly went bankrupt in the 1990s and why a team of Toyota consultants saved everything. Subscribe so you do not miss it.